Right. So, Kira, Koto, lovely to be here together today on this gorgeous spring morning. This morning's class uh, is an invitation to move out of that doing mode and into being, into our being mode. And really, my intention of teaching you all is in the hope that through these practices, you become very familiar with this place of being, and it becomes a refuge over time, and it becomes like a coming home. So I'd like to go into this a little bit before we start our practice. And I'm going to share my screen. I have a little diagram I thought might be useful. So these two types of modes that we dance between in our lives, really, personally, my practice is about balance between these two, and recognizing when particularly the doing mode is becoming overbearing or overpowering, and really our culture is very much dominated around this doing mode, and of course we need both. We wouldn't get very much done if we didn't have our mode of doing, which is our goal and our achieving mode. So just briefly, we'll work through the different characteristics of doing and being mode. So we'll start in the bottom left corner. Doing mode, believing thoughts are real and true. So
Naomi, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but your diagram came up on my screen and then it disappeared, and now I've got a blank white thing there.
Oh, okay, let me see. Sorry, let's try again.
Wrong, or are the others experiencing the same problem, or is it just me?
How's that? Is that changed?
Yep, now I can see it.
Right, thank you for letting me know. I'll leave it as that. I did make it into full view, but hopefully you can see enough of it to.
Yes, I can now. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Great. So starting at the bottom left corner, believing thoughts is real and true. So doing mode, we are in our head, and that can translate to lots of thinking, lots of mind chatter, and then often ruminating and catastrophizing from that. And really the being mode is this state of presence where we acknowledge and see that thoughts are transient, and that sometimes they're helpful, but quite often they are our conditioning essentially. And therefore, when we see them as transient, we don't get so locked into the narrative, and we can start to see our experience through a lens of reality and truth. Next to the right, agenda and striving, characteristics of doing mode. Agenda, as I said, we need our to-do lists, we need to get stuff done in our day, but when our whole day becomes around this striving, it's often that we're striving for something continually, even when we get that job ticked off our list, or even when we've done our appointment, or whatever is going on in our lives. And this being mode invites us into a quality of letting go, and letting go and accepting what is. So accepting not being a real resignation to life, but an accepting of okay, I'm not going to get everything done today, and that's okay. And striving can diminish somewhat from that quality. I'm just going to move my screen so I can see. So avoidance in doing mode is a tendency that happens when we become very lost in our minds and our achieving mode, and when there's anxiety or stress or pain, there tends to be an avoidance and not wanting to acknowledge or approach that, whatever that might be. Being mode invites us into leaning into our experience and leaning into whatever that challenge might be. And the next, analyzing. So we tend to analyze. We need this part of our mind, judge and judging and storytelling. That's part of our evolution. We need to be able to judge a situation and analyze whether it's safe or not safe. However, over-analyzing can become obsessive, and it can get us running around in circles. And it often then means that we're up in our head and we're not really present in our experience. And being mode really is about sensing and being open to the conversation or the situation, without over analyzing and putting our mind completely in the foreground. Now, doing mode, this is one of my real noticing of being in this achieving goal orientated state, autopilot, and not just autopilot in our actions, but also in our habits. And autopilot's helpful. We don't want to keep having to learn a new activity every time we come to it. This is a helpful part of our being, but it can also become unhelpful when we get lost in these habits that might not be of our well-being or others. And being mode really puts us into this acknowledgement of choice. We have a choice. When we bring consciousness or conscious awareness to our actions, to our habits, to our everyday activities, and we notice that we do have choice. And then finally, doing mode tends to be outward focused, out into the world. What can I achieve in this world? And these goals and these agendas. And it actually loses sight on the physical presence. And by losing that inward focus of the being mode, we become disengaged to actually what doing mode, living in it perpetually, is doing to us physically and energetically and mentally. So having this being state, this inward focus, connects us to really how we're feeling and gives us that conscious choice. Actually, rather than focusing on this achieving, this afternoon I just need to be still and be quiet, or take a walk, or be with a loved one, whatever that choice might be. So a little bit of background, just to give you an overview of these, a brief overview of these two modes that we bounce between throughout our day and life. And from that point, I invite you to come and lie on your back, if that's a comfortable place for you to be in. And as you come and lie down on the floor, bring with you something to put under your head if you'd like. You might like a blanket over the top of you. And if it's comfortable to, bend your knees and have your feet on the floor. And play around with where you place your feet in relation to your pelvis, so your legs can be as relaxed as possible. Placing your hands wherever feels appropriate for this inquiry. And really, I invite you to arrive. Arrive in your practice this morning. Arrive in your body. All of the activity and the movement and the doing of this morning, could you let that go? Let it go. And acknowledge that this is your time to settle, your time to connect. And a time to withdraw from that perpetual doing and simply be present. And as you invite yourself to transition from doing into being, from this state of being, allowing whatever is for you today and turning towards it, turning towards how you feel this morning, resting in this position. You might notice your breathing body, your natural breathing rhythm. And as you notice it, could you let go of any control, any want for it to be anything other than it is? So sinking into an attitude of allowing and letting go. As you sink and relax into each moment as it arises, making an intention to let go of any attitude of striving, for this practice at least, and any other personal intentions that you have today. It might be related to our theme or it might not be, it doesn't matter. And I always notice this in my practice when I go from doing mode, as I invite myself into being mode, there is often some momentum, some charge or some motion that needs time to settle. So as you let go of striving, could you invite patience into your practice? Patience to allow the momentum to gradually slow down. And as the attention moves from the chatter of the mind into the feeling and sensations in your body, notice what you notice. And acknowledging here as you rest with yourself that there's nothing to achieve here. And could this very moment, just lying here in this position, be enough? Just this moment enough without adding anything with the mind. So that you're giving yourself and the mind time to settle. Signs of doing mode could be a sense of living at arm's length, living disconnected from our body, or Another sign of doing mode could be that there is no time to stop and smell the flowers, enjoy the environment. And signs of being mode could be a sense of savouring life more fully, sense of feeling grounded, anchored, and from that, a feeling of resilience, not buffeted by the winds that blow in our lives. So just reviewing how you're feeling in relation to those two modes. And with your arms resting down by your side, starting to gently rock your pelvis forwards and backwards so that your lower back flattens towards the floor as your pelvis tilts backwards. And you bring a gentle arch in your lower back as the pelvis tilts forwards, arching and flattening the back. Being curious to any glimpse of striving or goal orientation, and allowing your movement to be soft, to be organic, so the body guides the movement rather than the mind. The movement might be slow, it might be a little quicker, doesn't matter. And then when it feels the time to complete and settle again, bringing the pelvis to neutral. And drawing one knee at a time in towards your body. Holding on to each leg if you'd like. Just sensing and feeling your lower back softening down into the ground, and this position of hip flexion. And on your next inhale, floating your legs away, and keep the hands in contact with the legs, so the legs don't need to move very far. And as you exhale, softening the thighs in towards the belly, softening the shoulders. So just continuing this Apanasana movement. Gently using these small and subtle movements to evoke that sense of non-striving, non-agenda. So that even as we start doing, there is a sense of being permeating your experience. Any other movements here you'd like to do before replacing your feet onto the floor? I'm going to invite you into a little sequence now. So taking it at your own pace, your own rhythm. On our inhale, we'll link this tilting of the pelvis forwards, so we arch the lower back, simultaneously raising the arms over the head, opening through the chest and the shoulders. The arms may not come to the floor, just taking them wherever they feel comfortable. As the arms come down, the right knee draws in towards the body. You might just like to pause there as you yield the back towards the floor. And when you're ready, extending your right leg up towards your ceiling, your arms can come down to the side. And any movements that you feel drawn to doing here might be a circle of the ankle, it might be a shake of the leg. And then supporting the pelvis and the left leg as you slowly lower your right leg down to the floor. And finding your own way back to constructive rest. You could slide the leg parallel, or you could open the knee to the side to slide it up. And start on the other side. So inhaling the arms up, rocking the pelvis forwards. And as you exhale, drawing the left thigh this time in towards the body. Spend as long as you'd like here. If you'd like a sense of flow to the sequence, you could continue on by extending the left leg up. Any little ankle circles or leg shakes here. Firming up the right leg to support the body as you lower the left leg down slowly. There needs an element of concentration here to explore this sequence. Once you get familiar with the movements, maybe linking the movements with the breath, maybe not. Could you allow yourself to, or could you allow the body to move in its own way? You could add arms, you could change things if that feels necessary. You could slow the movement down or quicken the movement up. All the while letting go of any sense of needing to be anywhere at a certain time, or any sense of needing to get the movement right. Finding your own way with it. As we start to move the body a little more, a little bigger, holding that intention, embracing that intention of no goal. That lovely sense of presence, supporting the movement, the choices of the movement. And wherever you are in the sequence, suggest that you just finish the next round. So you're finishing on the left leg. You might be taking one more set on each side, or just one more set on one side, depending where you are in your sequence. And then coming to rest. And when you come to rest, you might like to extend your legs away from you. Taking the arms wherever you wish to rest them, and just taking a brief pause here. Sensing any resistance to the pause, or any urge to want to keep going through the practice. Inviting yourself to yield into this moment, yield into this stillness, this pause. Approaching and leaning into your experience as it is right now. Now, this next practice it's another little sequence actually, and if it feels too much or it doesn't feel like it's working for you, then I suggest you move into the windscreen wiper legs that you're familiar with, which is when the feet are on the floor and the knees are bent, and we take the legs to one side, maybe the head moves to the opposite side, and the legs can lower as little or as much as feels within your range of comfort. So that can be a go-to if the sequence I'm going to suggest isn't working for you. And there's a couple of variations of this sequence. Now, the feet stay in that same constructive rest position or thereabouts. We raise the right arm up over the head. And this is one option. If raising the arm up over the head doesn't work, you can slide the hand along the body like we do in the shoulder sequence. And that raising up of the arm, if the arm is lifted, is going to help tilt you onto your side. And if the arm's sliding along the arm, then that will do the same. As the right arm reaches up to the diagonal, extend the right leg out behind you or down below you, depending on how this is feeling on your back. And then we'll slide in the opposite direction. It's like a pendulum, sliding or gliding the left leg forward, sorry, the right leg forward, the right arm back. We'll do that one more time. I'm just extending my left arm out underneath me so it's not getting in the way. And then I'll bend my right knee and I'll extend the right arm up again and over to pull me back naturally onto my back again. Now, again, you can do the same. If raising the arm over the head isn't working for you, you can do the same by gliding the hand back along the body. So the other side, lifting the left arm up or sliding the left arm along the right arm. This time the left arm reaches on the diagonal, the left leg reaches back. I'll swap. Need a bit of space for this, so hopefully you've got a bit of room in your practice space. So this pendulum is reaching arm and leg on opposite directions, and then we allow the body to weightily sink back to the starting position. So when you do this quite slowly, there isn't much momentum. It can feel quite laborsome, but allow yourself to find your own rhythm. And allow yourself to really sink and settle into that transition. Finding the diagonal, pendulum action. Length through the body as you transition. You might be doing the version with the hand folding along the arm. And do adjust, adapt to suit your body today. Using that presence, that inward awareness to make choices. And finding your way to bring the sequence to a close. Finding your way into a rest, whether that be on your back or on your side, whether that be legs bent or straight. Maybe taking a sigh, like exhale, just being here in this pause. Perhaps having a spacious and broad awareness, that natural awareness we were working on last week. Allowing everything to arise and pass in its natural, transient nature. Now, because you're tuning in to how you're feeling, moment to moment, then you might decide that actually being on the floor today is what you need. And I really encourage you to do that, to stay on the floor if you need to. There is an invitation to come up to a tabletop, and then we'll briefly come up to standing today. So if you'd like to, making your way into tabletop position. And if you don't, then just stay on the floor. And as you set yourself up into tabletop, finding a nice stable base with your knees and legs and hands and arms. And just to gently open up the connective tissue through the hands, spreading them as wide as feels comfortable on your mat. And starting to take little circles of transition of weight, hand, hand, leg, leg. That's 4 also in one direction before changing and coming in the other direction. Gently opening through the palms of the hands as you transition the weight from one hand to the other without strain or over pressing. And then taking a rest, and one possibility could be child's pose, wherever the arms feel comfortable to rest. You could use props here to assist you, or you might come into sitting or another position where you can take the weight off the hands. We won't be here for very long. Just a moment to have some respite from weight on the arms. And a moment of pause. And when you feel ready again to come back up into tabletop. Another little sequence today. So I'm going to teach this sequence with some breath intention, but of course you can let that go and just allow your body to breathe how it feels natural to breathe. So for me, it's an inhale on the extension, arching the spine just enough to get some opening through the front of the body. Exhaling to round the spine and maybe explore taking the hips back, either part way towards the heels or all the way. And then the inhale brings us back up into that arched position. And you can continue the arch and flex. You could also explore tucking the toes and adding a downward facing dog into your sequence. If that feels too much, then leave it out for today. But if it doesn't, then tucking the toes, lifting the pelvis, maybe staying a few breaths, maybe just visiting it briefly before lowering the knees, rounding the spine, and coming part way or all the way down. So it's really down to you how you approach this sequence. You might find moments of stillness, moments of being amongst the movement. You might choose to transition from one movement to the other. There might be other movements that you wish to add. But whatever you're doing, could you get a sense of that being mode in the background? That we take on those characteristics of being mode, inwardly focused, non-striving. And let's take another sort of 30 seconds or so. It might be in stillness, it might be in movement. Finding a pause somewhere, whether that's sitting or child's pose. And how might it be to take this being mode up to standing? So, of course, this is an invitation. You don't have to come to standing. But if you feel up to it, coming to stand up in your space. And just taking a stance that feels stable for you today. And explore tilting the weight forwards into your toes and back into your heels. Just doing that a few times. And then exploring right and left. Transitioning your weight, feeling into that transition, that change. You might do some circles. Trying to maintain a somewhat relaxed quality. And then can you find your middle ground? What feels like center? What feels stable for you here? And just standing for a moment. How often do you just maintain a standing position without any agenda, without any goal other than just to be? And notice if there is any tension accumulating, try to soften into that. And reflecting on the name of this posture, Tadasana, mountain posture. So connecting into that lovely mountain-like presence, physical presence, stable presence. As you feel into your whole body here, feel into your feet and your legs, the pelvis. And there will no doubt be a little bit of movement to stay balanced. Physically present in your mountain posture. This can be a great accessible position just to find yourself in, just to bring yourself in throughout your day, throughout your doing mode, just to bring a bit of being, just to bring that centering, grounding. If you'd like to from here, taking some spinal rolls. So spinal rolls, dropping the chin towards the chest, softening the knees. Allowing the knees to bend as the spine rolls, as the pelvis tilts forwards, heavy head, relaxed arms. To come back up, bend your knees, press down through your feet, and unfurling the spine as you start to straighten the legs. And if that felt suitable, then taking a couple more. And if it didn't, then a variation of that could be to bend the knees, keep the spine elongated. You can have the hands on the knees if you'd like, and maybe rounding the spine somewhat, maybe not. Coming up in a nice elongation. So rather than rounding through the spine, you might feel more at ease in your back to come down with an elongated spine. Maybe rolling into forward bend, maybe not. And after your second or third round, just taking some little releasing spinal twists, dropping the weight down through your feet, letting your shoulders and your head turn with the motion. Really allow your physical presence to emerge. You swing and move. And then slowing the movement down. And coming back to some sort of standing posture. I'm going to go a bit wider here for a breathing practice I call the chi breath. I think most of you are familiar with it. So we gather. As we gather, we bend the knees, we gather the arms. As we inhale, hands up towards the heart, maybe towards the chest. And then as the exhale beckons, we soften the hands back down through the center line of the body and soften the knees. So my spine, I'm tending to keep my spine fairly upright. So rather than sort of sticking the bottom out and coming down, try and keep the spine fairly upright. Take your own timing of this. It can be nice to breathe out a couple of times with the mouth. It really doesn't matter how fast or slow the breath is, as long as you're staying within a realm of ease. Inviting that lovely state of being in the background of the movement. That presence that allows the coming and going, the rising and passing of your breath. The soft fluidity of your movement. The natural rebound of your legs. Slowing down. Tuning in. Perhaps taking 2 more rounds in your own time. And then coming to stand back into your mountain posture. And just stand. And just be with how it feels to stand. To stand here in your body. If standing today feels too exhausting or tiring, you can do this sitting in a chair. Sensing into any qualities of feeling anchored or grounded, stable, resilient. So I'd really like you to have a nice long relaxation today. Hopefully you can still see the screen. I've got lots of sun pouring through the dome of the yurt. Before you come down into Shavasana, you may like to explore the Brahmari breath as even more, I guess, even more intention to let go of the charge in our head and bringing a quality of space and quiet. So you can do this sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor. You can do it standing as well if you'd like. And there's two different hand positions. Well, there's lots of different hand positions, but there's two I'm going to suggest. One being and just have a look for now because you won't be able to hear me once your hands go on your ears. The thumbs are going to block the ears, and then the fingers are going to rest on the eyes and on the forehead, and we close the eyes. So we take and the other position, if the elbows out doesn't feel comfortable for your shoulders, you could drop the elbows down and just have, it's probably easier to have the index finger blocking the ears rather than the thumb here, so the elbows are relaxed. So we take a natural inhale with the ears blocked. And then as we exhale, we make a bee-like humming sound. For the whole length of your exhale, allow your inhale to naturally arise. And can you simply just be with the vibration that's occurring wherever you feel it in your body? It might be your head, it might be your heart, it might be somewhere else. And I suggest you take maybe 6 to 8 rounds on your own, and I won't speak while you do the practice so that you can just tune in. So for yourself, taking 6 to 8 Brahmari breaths. Might be about finishing. Carry on if you're not. So if you are finished, making your way into your Shavasana posture. Now, I'd really like you to take your time to set yourself up really well. So make sure you've got something underneath your head, right up to the tops of the shoulders. And you can do like we do in class sometimes, when you have your blanket here, and then you tuck. So say, let's demonstrate, actually, that might be easier. So that you tuck the edges of your blanket around your head. So you're making a lovely nest. Tuck it right into the edges of your body. You might like something over the top of you, blanket, and maybe something underneath your knees as well, whatever you need. Not actually whatever you need, whatever you'd like for this. What does your body wish for? So spending the time to really make your body nice and comfortable and feel supported. So we have nice long rest here. A real opportunity and chance to settle deeply into that state of being. And the only way to become familiar with this, and for it to become more of a, well, it's a skill essentially that we're building to connect into this mode of being. The only way is by experiencing it, and is by giving yourself the time to really settle into it. And that's closing off from all distraction and all the doing. So as you arrive here, know that there's nothing that needs doing, nothing that needs attending to. And I'd like to start you off in your rest with a lovely poem by Dana Foles. Settle in the here and now. Reach down into the center where the world is not spinning, and drink this holy place, this holy peace. Feel relief flood into every cell. Nothing to do, nothing to be but what you are already. Nothing to receive but what flows effortlessly from the mystery into form. Nothing to run from or run toward. Just this breath. Awareness knowing itself as embodiment. Just this breath. Awareness waking up to truth. And as you let all the doing go, as you let all of the striving and the to-do lists go, bringing presence to your head as it rests. As you exhale, letting go the weight of your head. Soaking kind presence into your shoulders and the length of your arms and your hands. And as you next exhale, releasing the weight of your shoulders and your arms and your hands. Kind presence into the whole surface of your back, spine. As you next exhale, releasing the whole back, the weight of the back yielding to the ground. Soaking presence into your pelvic bowl. Feel the weight of your pelvis. Feel it. And as you exhale, releasing the weight to the ground. Feeling into your legs, the length of your legs, the feet and the toes. And exhaling, letting go the weight of your legs. And feeling your whole body. Physical presence here as you rest. Feel the outline of your body in this shape. The outline of your body in this shape. Feel it here. Know it here. Sinking your attention within the outline of your body. An ever so gentle and kind presence resting in the area of your heart, in the upper chest. Go any gripping of the mind, as if you could sense your whole experience from this place. All effort and energy drains out of the head and gathers in the heart. Sense this part of your being. Without any striving, analyzing. Very gentle approach. Sink down, further down the body now. Around the region of your diaphragm, the lower rib cage. And then underneath the diaphragm, the solar plexus. In the upper belly, sense into this part of your being. This part that is extremely active when we're in our doing mode. We become very tight and charged. If that's the case here, taking a couple of sigh-like exhales, clearing any charge or tension from this part of your being. softening the area of your solar plexus. And sinking further down, arriving in the bowl, wide rimmed realm of your belly, your abdomen. Feel here the whole of your lower belly and your pelvis. Mind soft and relaxed. Gather your presence, lower belly, abdomen, pelvis. Yielding and softening. Softening any tension here. As if the skin of your abdomen sink and soften. If your navel was a sinkhole, it's a melting quality. Lower belly, pelvis. In the upper legs, inner thighs. Gliding your presence down the length of your legs. Sensing and feeling your way down the length of your legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Feeling your whole body. As it rests in its natural state of being. Resting here in silence for a few minutes. As you savor this being state, you sink deeper and deeper into it, allowing all the comings and goings of the breath, the body, the thinking mind to come and go. To continue to sink and savor. Just being. something to attend to. Allowing all that is to be as it is. Come and go without gripping, without resisting. Sinking a little more fully into presence. Into natural awareness. Spacious and clear and skylight. Savouring this time as you abide here, as you simply be here. Permission granted to be here. Surrendering a little more fully. Letting go a little more fully. The gentle expansion and condensing of your breath. Free to move. Feel the weight of your body here in this position. Sense into the weight of your body. Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? Does it feel neither? Feel again the outline of your physical form. Inhabiting your whole physical form, your awareness. And before you begin to move again, perhaps planting an intention before you do. To evoke this being state going forward in your day. Acknowledging that you have choices. You have the choice to pause, to stand, to feel into your physical experience. Planting these conscious inputs throughout your day, generating an anchor, stability. So when you feel ready to, you might stretch your fingers and make little fists of your hands. A couple of times, taking a couple of conscious inhales. Releasing exhales. And moving at your own pace. Moving slowly. Take your time. Notice as you move again, as you start this transition of any projecting into the future, into your next activity, into your jobs list, and just acknowledge it. Don't get upset with yourself or angry. Remind yourself of this planted seed of presence through all that you do, enabling you to make choices and find ease even in the doing. So I'll bring this practice to a close, but of course if you would like to take longer in your rest, then do. So may your practice bring you ease and connection, and plant seeds of kindness and compassion for yourself and those around you. Namaste.